In 7 years of doing YouTube, the #1 requested car that we should buy as a project is an S85 engined BMW, whether that be E60 M5 or M6. And I've always said I'm never going to buy another one because I did own an E60 M5 in 2007 for 3 years and I escaped relatively scot-free. But here we are. So this is our new project car. It's a 2008 M6 competition pack. Now, before I was offered this car, I didn't actually know there was a competition pack version of this car. The changes over and above the standard M6 are the bonnet or hood, if you're in the USA, revised dampers and springs, stiffer anti-roll bars, and wider wheels. And you can see the wheels have much more of a concave than the standard one, so it actually looks really good. This particular car has 121,000 miles on it and it's been serviced by BMW its whole life. And I've actually got the warranty sheet on this and it's had hardly any warranty work, which I'm absolutely surprised about. So whoever had this car either drove it very gently and looked after it very well, or it's just one of those cars that is just really good. So from outside, it does look pretty clean. Interior is very cool. It's black on black, has the extended leather over the dash. So it appears like it's a very clean car, but the car did arrive on a low loader and I haven't driven it yet. So let's hand it over to Aston and he can tell me how good or bad it really is.
So with the M6 on the ramp, it's time to see what is lurking underneath. But before we start underneath, we're going to go to the main point of buying one of these cars, which of course is the beautiful S85 engine. So visually, you can't see a huge amount because obviously you've got the big plenum, you've got the big air boxes and there's covers on either side, but we can give it a good look around and check all the pipes and make sure there's no oil leaks and coolant leaks. Good point on these is that a lot of the lines and that are running at the front, so it is quite easy to inspect it. And then you can see kind of down the sides and around, and then we get a better look from underneath as well.
All right, grab your inspection light and let's
grab my
get to
torch. Yeah, I mean, the good thing with like stuff like oil leaks and coolant leaks is that they tend to leak and gravity takes them downward. So if they are leaking somewhere, they tend to spread, and it gives you a good, easy indication of where the leak is, and then you can just kind of follow the trail.
Yeah, I have just filmed this and the very initial top of it looked kind of dry.
It does look dry. There's a bit of an oil weep on the side here, like a previous weep that's kind of built up gradually, which could be the rocker cover gasket. Yeah. Vanos lines all look all right. Coolant lines again seem to be okay. Things like coolant, obviously if you had a major coolant leak you'd know, because your coolant level is going to drop and then it's going to tell you on the dash anyway. Yeah. But initially...
Well, if that sensor works, of course. That's not always a given on an S85.
It's not always a given that anything works on an S85, but we can hope. Yeah, I mean, there's no coolant, no oil leaks on the front. A little bit of weepage on the side, but it's not a heavy leak, so it's just like misting. Power steering.
Yeah, I noticed.
Fluid is quite grubby. The power steering reservoir, sorry, is quite grubby, so it may be the seal.
Yeah, because they do vent out of there as well, don't they?
So it could just be that. Again, easy fix. And then it looks like it's running down the power steering line there. So what probably best thing to do is clean that up
and see if it does it more,
and then kind of inspect it going along. injectors all look pretty dry. I mean, you don't normally get petrol leaking outwards, but of course there is a joint from the fuel line to the injector, so if it was going to leak, it would leak from there.
Yeah.
The O-ring would leak, which it isn't by the looks of it. I mean, you'd smell fuel anyway, so pretty good.
Yeah, we just had the start up of putting it onto the lift as well, and it was pretty much cold. We moved it once this morning, but not too much. It didn't sound super noisy.
No, it was quite quiet.
Yeah, some of them sound really bad.
So that kind of indicates we've got good pulleys, water pump, things like that are all okay. The belts don't look too perished either. Yeah. They've maybe been changed at some point and then we just don't have a history of it. But they're not kind of broken away or perishing. But yeah, so far, so good.
Yeah. And something I like on this actually is, unlike if people have seen my M4 video, where the engine bay had very clearly been cleaned.
Yeah.
This one has had a little wipe on like the plastics, but a lot of it hasn't been cleaned very much, so
Yeah.
it's a bit more of an honest representation, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say maybe surface dust has been wiped, but again, only really like plenum and airboxes. All these kind of creases and notches have got dust in them.
Yeah, because if you were cleaning it up for sale, you would have cleaned
You'd
off
clean
that
the whole
reservoir
lot, yeah.
and things like that.
So yeah, nothing's been hidden. Oh, hello SMG. Nothing's been hidden, which is good, and nothing looks broken or kind of played with either. So it's probably been left stock.
Yeah, I think Imran said it's got full BMW service history, or mostly, and it's been done to their intervals.
I mean, usually when BMW kind of look after cars and service them, if they're servicing something and something breaks while they're there, they just replace it anyway. So they don't like cable tie stuff up and duct tape. I mean, you'd hope they wouldn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's fairly high mileage at 121, I think it was, but it doesn't look like it's been abused or run cheaply, initially at least, from here.
Yeah. We have got a bolt missing.
Oh.
On this cover. See this bolt here?
Yeah.
Literally just holds this cover on. There's another one, whether you can see it with the camera or not, just down there.
It might not focus, but yeah, I can see.
There.
Hang on. Sorry if this is a bit shaky. There we go.
Yeah. So that's
those been off.
But yeah, that's gone walkabout, so we'll get something to replace that. But yeah, so far engine bay is good.
All right, then what do we do next? Bring it up halfway?
So we'll bring it up halfway, and then while it's midway on the ramp, we'll check wheels, tyres, brakes, suspension play, like left and right, up and down, bearings, stuff like that. Look at the shocks and the springs, and yeah, that's about it midway. And
Your
then
midway
after that,
check is a bit more kind of like MOT kind of check, isn't it?
yeah, like noises, knocks, bearings, and then after that we put it up in the air and then check everything underneath. So we'll start with the tyres. Visually good, tread wise anyway. We'll check it just to be certain, but we can obviously see it's got a lot of tread. So there's about between 7 and 8 mil tread on it, so it's pretty much a brand new tyre. It's dated 2021, I think it was. Yeah. So it's only two and a bit years old. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. There's no bulges in the outside. I'll check the inside underneath. Nothing in the tyre. We'll go like brakes. The discs are a bit scored. They're a little bit lipped, but not terribly, but they might clean up a bit when driving. So we'll kind of monitor that as we go along as well. Obviously anything that does need doing on this we will do. It's just we need some time with it to drive it and see what happens. The pads are good. There's a lot of life on this pad. So that's all right. Again, things like cracks in the wheel, we'll check that underneath. Springs intact. That indicates that it's an M6, in case you didn't know.
There you go.
That's strange.
That it's got a...
Got M6 written on it. I didn't normally.
So I think that's because only the M6 came as a competition pack. Someone's going to be in the comments now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Telling me that that's false, but I'm fairly sure that's right. So maybe that's why it says M6. But yeah, it usually has model code, not...
Yeah, not the actual car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the spring's not broken, the rubber's actually intact, it's just a bit squashed, and the damper isn't leaking, it's dry, so that's a bonus. I'll check for play quickly. Feels pretty good. That noise from the disc. Tyres bouncing spinning quite straight. Bearings are tight. But yeah, pretty good. Again, we'll check the rest of the suspension when we're underneath. The only thing I do notice here is it's been rubbing on this arch. Just on there. I think that's because it's broken.
Oh, and with
So it's obviously the air's pushing it backwards.
Yeah.
As you're driving, it's just pushing it onto the wheel.
Okay, so yeah, we're missing some screws and it's cracked.
Yeah, it's broken there.
And,
So it'll be a case of replacing that under bit and that bit there, just to try and pull it tight again. Just tuck it back up there. Yeah, otherwise, this corner's pretty good. We'll obviously do the same checks on the other side and the rear wheels as well. And if anything comes up, then we'll show it, obviously. The boots on the drop link look okay as well. Yep, sweet. On to the next corner. Yeah, so on to the other front corner. The tyre tread's okay. Let me check it. We've got sort of between 5 and 6 mil. So the tread's good, but you can see in the middle it's cracking. See there's just along here, in the middle of the treads there.
yeah, and on the edge.
Also has a screw or something in it. And you can also see on the edge here, on the shoulder, that it's cracking. And the reason for that is probably because it's a 2015 tyre.
Yeah, so this is a dangerous tyre.
Yeah, this is not ideal. So not only, although it's got good tread on it, it doesn't always mean that it's a good tyre. One, because it's cracking, which can obviously cause bulges and can eventually split at some point. And two, because the older a tyre is, the less it's going to be grippy. It doesn't get as sticky because
the rubber dries out.
The rubber dries out and the compound goes harder. So this is a bad tyre. We need to change this one over. Brakes, pretty good. Again, obviously then we're going to match the other side unless you've got a sticky caliper. Same thing with a disc. Same thing with the spring, the rubber and the shock. I've already inspected all that, so it's all the same. They're all okay. The drop link, again, the play, and that's all fine. And it is rubbing on this arch as well, which is also loose. By the looks of it, it's broken in the middle where it bolts to this under tray. So it might be a case of new under tray and new inner arches.
Okay, so we need one tyre.
We need one tyre.
Let's have a look at the rears.
Moving on. The rears, again, pretty good tread. It's a 2020 tyre in the 25th week, so it's about three and a half years old. Is my maths right? Yep, about 3.5 years old. The tread is between 5 and 6 mil, so yeah, the tread's good. It's not cracking, there's no bulges, and I can't see anything in it that requires repair. And then again, brakes, same thing, discs are a bit scored and rusty, but it might just be where it's been sat. There's no lip on it, so they might clean up when you drive it. Pads are probably about 30 to 40% worn.
Yeah.
Spring looks good. Shock's not leaking. Bump stop's intact. That's all nice. And then we just check the other corner.
So, do we have a matching pair on the rear?
Almost. This one's a 2018. So yeah, a bit of a mismatch of years on this car. I mean, they're all Pirellis, so they've matched the brand and the tread style, but they're just different ages, which is weird. And this one's around 4.5 mil tread.
So this is a 6-year-old tyre on the rear. It's probably getting a bit on.
Yeah, the 4th week of, yeah, so it's over 6 years old.
Not as bad as the 9-year-old.
No, on the other corner. Discs, same story. damper, spring, same story, bump stop, same story, yeah, all good. So I mean, we ideally want to change this tyre because of the age, and we ideally want to change the front left tyre because of the age and the cracking. So it may be worth us just putting a full set of tyres on so we know they're all matching, and probably go with something like a Pirelli, a Michelin.
Yeah, I don't think Imran's the biggest fan of a Pirelli, so...
Pirellis aren't necessarily that great anyway, from our experience. Everyone has their own preference, but we don't particularly like them. We like the Michelins. So yeah, we'll probably end up swapping all 4 of these out for a good set of tyres.
Right. So a couple of things found.
Maybe get the wheels refurbed if Imran wants to. The lacquer's going a bit. They could do a bit of a clean up, so maybe get them recut or...
Yeah, because the bodywork itself's in pretty good condition.
Pretty
so
good.
the wheels
so
are probably just
letting it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool, yeah. We'll
run
to
the underside.
Underneath. So underneath, swapped out the little inspection torch for a big one because we've got a bigger area. And we'll just have a look. Like I said, we'll check the inside of the wheels to make sure there's no cracks and that the inside of the tyres don't have bulges, which that one doesn't. And neither does this one.
You might think Aston's spending a bit too long on tyres. I might agree, but they are a safety thing and that is just very important.
Tyres are what hold you to the road, right? So they're the only point of contact between the car and the road. So without a good tyre, you're not going to hold onto the road. Basically.
Yeah, all of the new cars, we know they're fresh tyres and then when they get warm, but when we're buying used cars, unfortunately people don't pay them as much respect as you probably need to. Shown here by the fact it's got 2 tyres that are aged, one especially badly.
So the back boxes all look pretty good. We've got a little bit of a leak coming there.
Oh yeah, I mean I can tell you for one, there's no way we're keeping an S85 with the standard exhaust.
We're not going to leave standard exhaust on it. But as an inspection, for inspection purposes, we're just going to look anyway. Heat shields and stuff are all intact.
Bits of rust I can see, but nothing.
Yeah, kind of surface rust of screws and that, which is normal. Screws on the back of the diff. Anti-roll bar's a bit rusty. Might be worth changing the bushes out just for an age, like an age thing, just a refresh. Drop links look okay. Drive shafts look okay. Diff looks pretty wet.
Let's have a look at this.
Actually, like dripping wet. I wonder if that's
very wet.
Yeah, that's diff fluid, definitely diff fluid. I mean, it wouldn't be anything else, but it is diff fluid.
Yeah.
So I would say we need a new front seal on that, which would probably explain the diff noise that we get, because the fluid is likely to be pretty low at this point, which is why it's whining its head off.
Yeah, because we haven't driven it, but even just driving it around...
Driving it around the forecourt into the workshop, you can hear like a diff noise. Yeah. And it is, I don't know how well you can see from there, but it is splattered up the body. Oh. It's probably easier from this side. Look, it's sprayed up onto the shell and all over the bushes. So yeah, I think a new diff seal is in order as well.
I can see it all over the subframe, and yeah, I can see it. That's been...
And it's actually dripped on the exhaust as well, so it's quite a heavy leak.
Yeah.
So I would assume, I mean, it might be worth measuring it when we take it out, but I would assume there's very little diff fluid in here.
Yeah. The sides look okay though, so it's only that.
Yeah, side seals are fine. It's just a bit rusty, which you'd expect. This car obviously hasn't been somewhere near the sea or like used a lot in the road in the winter when the roads are being salted, because otherwise everything would be caked in rust, and it isn't.
Yeah, there's the odd bits, but you've got to remember this is a what, 2008? That's a 16-year-old car.
Yeah, it's an old car. It's not, and 16 years in Britain
is a long time.
Is a long time with the terrible weather that we get.
Yeah.
So it's kind of expected. So it's actually a lot better than you'd expect. They look pretty new. I don't know if you agree.
Which bits are you saying they?
The brace, the fuel tank braces.
Yeah, I can't say I've been under enough of these.
The only thing that makes you say that is how clean these are.
Yeah, because they usually go very...
They're soft, so they always end up, I'm getting oil on it now, but they always end up being like crumpled. And this looks like very clean metal. I know the underneath isn't filthy, but it does look like quite clean metal. So maybe, or maybe it's just been very well looked after. Same with this brace. This brace looks fairly new. In fact, so do these. They don't look like the brace you would get on a 18-year-old car.
No, are these aluminium?
Did we say 18-year-old? No. 2008. 16-year-old,
yeah.
sorry.
But those nuts look good as well.
Yeah, the nuts are clean.
Some good looking nuts.
These nuts? I mean, yeah, exhaust again, we'll kind of ignore that because we're not going to leave it standard, but
yeah, we might keep this
not,
bit. See how
it's not the end of
budget of the project goes,
yeah.
But
there's nothing detrimental, so we don't have to worry too much.
no, and when we have moved it, it doesn't sound like it's blowing or anything like that.
No, it doesn't also look like it's blowing anywhere, so another bonus. I mean, gearbox and engine we can't really see a lot, so once we take all that off to do the rod bearings, we'll check all that properly.
Yeah, that is perhaps a little spoiler there, Aston. But yeah, like this car isn't leaving the lift.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So the first thing we're going to be doing on this is obviously the rod bearings, because S85.
Yeah, we're not tempting fate by putting this on the lift and then taking it back off.
No, so we get straight on that and get the preventives out of the way before it costs us an engine.
So with that in mind, then should we drop these covers now and then get a proper look at the engine? Because
yeah,
other than seeing that it has been scraped along the ground a bit, there's not much because it is so covered.
yeah. Plus I can then get to these arms to check the bushes properly. So yeah, we'll get the trays off. See, strangely these will come off all right. I wonder if they've been replaced at some point as well. What's holding it here? Well, there's one there.
I think there was one on the other side.
There's 1 out of 3 is holding that. And then nothing this side. I think that's ready to come off, Matt.
So no cable ties, just ready.
No, there's cable tie on another bit, but that was, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. And we're off. Dry, which is a good sign. But definitely broken on like the main points.
Oh yeah.
Like there and there. There's a whole piece missing here. And same again that side.
Yeah, I mean that's fairly common on these
They're
cars.
supposed to fix up to those, and that's all bent and broken, so standard.
I'd probably say that's just normal being dragged along the ground, big
Yeah.
speed bumps and stuff.
It's all brittle, isn't it? So look, there's the pieces
as it gets
missing.
old. Okay, next under tray.
Next under tray on the gearbox.
We get to see the pretty much universally hated
SMG.
SMG gearbox.
Here we go.
I've immediately spotted something perhaps interesting.
I've lost a bolt, so once I've found it, I will have a look with you.
By
There
the
it is.
From here at least, that sump plug bolt looks like it's got sealant on it.
Oh no.
And judging by your response, it does.
Yeah. But I don't know what the but was, to be honest.
The mystery.
Why have they done that?
You mean, I think we can both take a guess. One that I know you don't want to be true.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'd say
aluminium
the
sump,
threads.
isn't it?
Yeah. The threads might be no good. That's not great.
No. It's weak as well.
Yeah.
Not really ideal to be putting sealant on that anyway, because it can get in the oil.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it's been put on from the outside. Like they've put, because that's quite a ring, so I wonder if they've just filled this.
in the threads, yeah.
I mean, we'll find out when we take the sump plug out, but I wonder if it would talk. If it would talk, then, I mean, we're here now, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's going to come out, so we're not dropping the oil.
if it will talk up, then there's nothing wrong with it. But if it doesn't, then I've got the time cert kit anyway, so we'll just drill it out and put a new thread in. It's just another thing to add to the list. It's weird, it's always the back ones. I wonder if it's just the way they're built inside. Maybe just a dust seal then.
Potentially. Find out in the next video.
Find out when it's out. Okay, back to the inspection. Yeah, like we said from up top, the belts and all the pulleys, the coolant lines, the oil lines, the power steering lines, they all look clean from up there. And from under here, they're the same, they are clean. So that's good. There doesn't seem to be a leak on the sump anywhere, which is also good.
Yeah, I was going to say, other than that 1 week.
Yeah, apart from that on there.
It's a little bit there, I don't know what that is.
What is this? That is power steering line. I spoke way too soon. That's the power steering line up there.
Oh yeah, I can see that weeping. Power steering line is another thing that ages over time and does start to leak, which is a problem because it's a very flammable.
Yeah, so if that comes out and sprays over the headers, which are
right
there, then that's going to catch fire.
Yeah, as someone I know who will remain nameless had happened to their own one, so that's something I'd put on the list. Not that it's a fun job to change, but
yeah, are we going to be able to get one while we're doing the rod bearings? That's the question.
yeah, we'll have to find out.
It's a long pipe. That's also not good.
Oh,
Look, this I believe is the same line that connects up there. It's been seated here.
oh, that is, yeah, that's a definite change. There's no way.
Look at that.
Oh, I actually can't see this. I'm looking at it with my eyes rather than the camera. Sorry, people watching.
That is close to. It's on a metal, so I can bend it down.
Yeah.
But it should be sat kind of away from that, and it's been sat on it.
And it's
So as the engine rocks, it's pierced through there. It's split the outer casing,
That's bad.
and I'm surprised that hasn't actually burst.
Yeah, because this power steering's under some pressure as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is why they weep, really.
Okay, so we know we need that line.
Yep, this car ain't going anywhere without that, then.
We might actually have to reschedule what we're doing then if we're going to do it that way. Because there's no point doing the rod bearings and then putting the frame back up and then doing the power steering line.
Yeah.
So we'll have to order a power steering line
Yeah,
and
see.
work out when we can get it. If we can get it for like tomorrow or something, then fine. But if we can't, then we're going to have to reschedule. But yeah, gearbox isn't leaking. That's all good.
I always
Engine isn't
enjoy these
leaking.
really aftermarket looking lines when we do.
Yeah.
It's just, when the more you look underneath it, the more obvious it almost, I don't know, this might not be true, but it doesn't seem like they planned to put this engine in this chassis
No.
because it's so squeezed in.
That's the way that I view it. And again, like you said, you don't know if it's true or not, but the way, like for instance, the power steering lines.
Run under
This
the
power
gearbox.
steering line is connected to the power steering pump, the power steering rack there. It runs down here, around here, up there, over the top, round here, and up here, and then around to the power steering. And it's like, why?
Yeah, and then also, a lot of people probably don't know this, but the oil filter location always makes me laugh as well.
Yeah, here.
Because it's here. So if you ever have a front ender in your M5 or M6, probably don't start it.
Oh, yeah. And if you're going to do it, don't do it on this side. But yeah, it's like you said, it's almost like they've put an engine in and then gone, right, how do we make everything else fit around it?
Yeah.
All the stuff that we're right, the engine fits, but we need a gearbox, we need an oil filter, we need power steering. How do we make it fit? Like, and then they just kind of crammed it all in. Like, I mean, props to them, but also thanks a lot because it makes it well easy to work on.
That's sarcasm for our American viewers there. Okay, so power steering line, very bad.
Yeah, power steering line, very bad. Sump, possibly bad. Sump plug. Everything else, pretty bang on. I'll check all these bushes and stuff now that I've got access to them with a lever bar. There's a slight crack in it, so we might need to change some arms and stuff.
Yeah, I think if we want to try and get this driving the best, 120,000 miles, these
Yeah,
bushes
it's worth
need to
a
go.
refresh anyway.
That's something we learned on the Monte Carlo high mileage E92 project, was even just OEM bushes was such an upgrade on that car.
Yeah, we'll grab a lever bar. Let's start with this one. Yeah, look, see the split in it?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're not looking for, isn't it?
That is on its way out.
Yeah.
Again, not failed, but prevention is always better than cure.
No, and this is a car that is designed to do 200 mile an hour.
Yeah, and it's a car that we want to make tip top.
Yeah.
So these ones don't seem to be torn or worn, which are good. There's a little bit of play. I don't know, is that a bit of a crack? There is a slight crack in there, if you can see that. Don't know how well you can see from here.
Exactly.
Wheat.
That's hit you in the face.
Almost took my eyes out. Just where the numbers are on that,
Yeah, I can just start to see it pulling open. Yeah.
starting to crack. On the side.
Probably going to be quite similar.
It is indeed. You can see the cracks through there. Just above the numbers. Just like right inside there.
Yeah, when you move it, it goes clean.
And again this side.
Yeah.
And then same with this front one.
Yeah, exactly the same place.
That's almost going to come off. Look.
Yeah, that's quite bad. Yeah.
Ironically, no power steering leaks from the rack itself.
What thing we don't have to change?
Just that line. But yeah, underneath also pretty good, apart from
Just a couple things which...
power steering line, sump plug, and the arms.
So, at that point, that tyre there, that power steering leak,
Yep.
and probably not those bushes, but this is a car you
Worth
probably wouldn't
doing.
advise driving.
No. I mean, if someone was to buy this car and we were to inspect it, these would be advisories. We'd advise the arms, we would advise the tyres strongly, but we would highly recommend the power steering line because of it being one
The
press
leak,
against there
the
and
leak
two
was
leak.
bad, but that
Yeah.
pierced bit, we just don't know how much thickness is left.
Because like we said, if that power steering line goes and it sprays onto the headers, it's likely going to catch fire. So, yeah.
Okay. So the underside inspection done.
So the
There's
next
only
thing,
one there's only one thing left to do, and
that's
that's
plugging it in.
Yeah, and electronics aren't a strong point of these cars.
No.
So let's see how it fares against a diagnostics machine.
So we looked at the body of the car, and now we're going to check out the brain of the car, which is where the diagnostics comes in. So we'll read the fault codes and see what we've got. And likely, because it's an S85, we're going to have a lot of faults. Yeah, something like that.
I already noticed there's one coming from the iDrive about anti-pinch or something for the window.
What have we got? Hey,
I can't really remember how to check on these.
info sources. Service, check control. Fuel reserve, power window, anti-trap function.
Yeah, not entirely sure what that means.
So, you know what anti-trap is?
Well, it's when the
you
window comes up.
Put your hand in it and it stops it and then goes back down again. So obviously the sensor that reads that has a fault, but I wonder whether that's just unplugged or something maybe, or...
Well, I know there's a calibration thing you can do where you reset how far it needs to go. And
Let's
stuff.
have a look. Scan. Fault, 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 fault.
To be honest, it's doing better than I thought it would.
Yeah, that's a good run. Are we going to make it? Yeah. Wow, okay, cool.
7
So
faults total.
let's start with the ones that are going to be less scary. So the telecommunications unit. Main telephone aerial fault.
Absent.
Absent, so it's a previous one. So we know we can clear that. Car access system. Car access system output terminal 50, again absent. Could be related to the telephone,
Yeah,
but
be a good guess.
not a worry because they're both clearable.
SMG.
Of course. Is it going to be absent or is it going to be present? Either
Go
way,
on.
it's going to be a gift. Absent. Hey, steering angle sensor faulty, which we know is absent because otherwise it'd have the faults on the dash.
Yeah.
So that's cool as well. I wonder when that was, if it'll tell us.
It's going to be in kilometres, isn't
It
it?
will be in kilometres, which is kind of annoying. We can always
Hold on, I can figure this out.
do that.
121. 194,000 kilometres it's on.
194,000 kilometres, and this is showing at
Like
195,000
Yeah.
kilometres. How's that?
Oh, I only did 121.
Oh,
What's it
okay.
actually on 121,310?
Right, so I wonder then maybe if that's an issue because the battery isn't great on it.
Possibly.
Either way, it says absent, so we know we're all right.
Okay.
DME. The only one that I'm worried about is that the power window light isn't on here. We don't have a fault for the power window. That shouldn't come under DME. Cylinder 6, cylinder 7, alternator, coolant thermostat monitoring.
Oh, no, that is a problem on
Yes,
these.
that is why it's down. Did we say it was down on power in
The
power
previous owner believed it to be. We haven't, obviously none of us have driven it yet.
mode? Yeah, so the thermostat, if the thermostat isn't reading right and the temperatures are reading incorrect, it starts to pull ignition timing.
Which is obviously we know from tuning the cars, it was
Yep.
very
So
annoying.
that is potentially why we have low on power if the customer's, or if the previous owner is correct in what he says.
Yeah. Okay, well, only one present code.
And not the window one.
But then, like I said, I don't know if that's just a calibration thing
Yeah.
or something.
So let's clear these for now, and then we can see what comes back. Oh, it's taking its sweet time. SMG one came back. Strange.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect an absent code to come back.
Steering angle signal 40.
Although it was at the current mileage, wasn't it? So
Yeah. Something we'll have to investigate. Right, let's see. I wonder if the calibration can be done through here or if it has to be done manually.
yeah, I know. I've never worked on one of these, but I know E46s. You just like hold it down, hold it up, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It seems to shut and open the window fine though.
Yeah, when you open the door it drops. And
Yeah,
that's-
which means
that's
it
not an
knows where
issue.
it is. So I don't know.
Locking and security functions. Initialize power window drive.
Maybe that one. I'd try that as a beginning.
Terminal 15 on, yep.
Right. Well,
Nope. Strange.
well, that's one to investigate further. It's not the
Not the end of the
end
world.
of the world.
Let's have a look at the power steering angle sensor. Cleared now.
Yeah. So that'll be a case of then driving it and seeing.
Yep. So we've now got no faults at all.
We truly are BMW M-Class specialists.
Fixed. Send him round the bill, and I'm going home.
So yeah, next step would be to drive it, but as we said, we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that because we're going to do the rod bearings
And
first,
that power steering line.
And the power steering line. More so the power steering line, because
Yeah.
we know the rod bearings is just a preventive.
Yeah, it's
precautionary.
a tempting fate.
But the
thing
window
from-
one is annoying me.
We'll have to research that more.
Yeah, hasn't gone away. Really
Yeah.
odd.
All right.
Mirrors fold.
Yep, I can see that.
Do they work?
The interior as well, actually, is in generally quite good condition for the mileage.
It's quite clean.
The bolsters haven't even worn that much. I was quite surprised.
I didn't even check that,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, I had a little look earlier.
I mean, that's the other thing when you're checking a car over, really, is to just give a quick run through the inside, make sure like the heating works and the aircon works and stuff like that, the lights and whatever else. But obviously that's something we haven't gone too in depth with because that's not the main reason why we bought this car.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we do know that it's all alright. We're just not really going to document it too much.
Yeah, I think get him run back down and give him. I mean, I guess kind of the good news. I would say this is good news.
It's good news, but it's also not good news because that power steering line is not cheap.
No, and it's not the quickest thing to change. But
No, but yeah,
it could be a lot worse.
it could be a lot worse. But we've only just bought the car and we
Yeah,
haven't driven
we
it
haven't
yet.
driven it yet.
So it could be worse again.
Yeah.
So Aston, should I be sitting down for this part?
Not as much as you'd think,
Okay.
but
So-
we did find some issues. So the front arms are cracked on their bushes,
Yep.
which is kind of
For this mileage.
for the age
that's
and
fine.
mileage
Yeah.
and so on. The tyres aren't great.
Well,
in
they're Pirellis
terms-
for number one.
Yeah, that was one thing we covered. We're
Yeah.
probably going to change it for Michelin's anyway,
Yeah.
so that's fine. But one thing we found was the front left one was a 2021. No, sorry, 2015 was the front left
What?
one.
2015?
Yeah,
Oh, wow,
and
okay.
2018 was the rear
So
right
both
one.
out of date anyway.
Both well out of date.
Yeah.
The front left one was actually perishing.
Okay.
The diff is leaking from the front seal,
Right.
which might be what that noise is.
Okay.
The diff fluid's pretty
Yeah.
low, and that's why it's making the noise. The power steering line was a big concern.
Okay.
It's crushed between the pump on the side of the engine and the frame.
Right.
And it's worn almost right through.
So is that normal routing for it? Is someone put it in wrong?
Someone's maybe put it back in the wrong place, or it's been pushed and it's ended up being squashed between the two.
Okay.
But either way, it's worn through,
Yep.
so that needs replacing. But the good thing with that is it's also leaking a bit further round, so we only need to change the one line rather than having to change two. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's leaking somewhere else,
Yeah.
so it also needs changing for two reasons.
Yeah, okay.
The bushes we covered, the diff front seal we covered. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, and the sump.
Mm-hmm.
The rear plug on the sump, someone had put sealant around the sump plug.
Okay.
We don't know whether that's because they've ruined the thread,
Yes.
or it was leaking slightly, or the crush washer is reused and that's why it's leaking.
Yeah.
But we tried, I torqued it and it torqued up okay.
Okay.
So it may just be a bad crush washer, but we'll find out once we do the rod bearings, which we're going to do
Which is going to
next.
be the next job.
And we'll strip that out and check it once
Okay.
the pan's off. And then if it is damaged, we know we can repair the thread and put a new one back in.
Yeah, so apparently the car doesn't work in P500 mode. I haven't verified that myself. But what we'll do is the rod bearings first, and I won't get the throttle actuators done until they fail or if that's causing the problem. So I
Yeah.
want to see what's causing that.
So what we also found when we done diagnostics on
Yeah.
it was the coolant temp sensor,
Okay.
which we know obviously pulls time in
Yeah.
if the coolant's not reading right, which could be causing it to not run full power in P500, right?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to
So,
see.
I mean, we'll cover that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to do the rod bearings.
Yeah.
At the same time, we'll do that power steering line because the subframe's down,
And the
so it's
coolant
easier
sensor.
to access it. We'll do the coolant temp sensor as well because they're all things we know are definite.
Yeah.
And then we can move forward with working from that.
Okay, cool.
And,
And,
yeah,
get some tyres before
yeah.
I drive it. I mean,
Before you
yeah,
drive
I'm
it.
not a big fan of Pirelli, so it
Yeah,
would have
Pirelli's
been
are
going
great
on.
anyway.
So that's £1,500 already
Yeah.
on tyres.
That's,
If
yeah.
anyone wants to sponsor the build, just shout us.
we get some
We'll
tyres
advertise
in
your
there.
product.
Ideally not Pirelli.
Yeah, preferably someone other than Pirelli. But yeah, so yeah, that's the next step. We get it up in the air, start draining the oil, do the rod bearings, do the power steering line, do the coolant temp sensor, and then you can start driving it. Once you drive it and anything else comes back up, then we
Yeah,
know
we'll
where
sort
we're
it
at.
out.
There was very minimal faults in it when we read it.
That's good.
Some of them cleared already because they
Yeah.
were absent, so they're obviously previous codes. And one of them that stayed was the power steering angle sensor.
Yeah.
So I've reset that, and that's gone as well.
Okay.
May come back when we drive it. If it does, we need to investigate. If not, then
Okay, the other thing with this car is that it had a full BMW warranty up to 100,000 miles and it was fully serviced at BMW. So basically the car didn't want for anything. If it needed something replacing, it was replaced under BMW warranty up until 100. And then obviously for the next 20,000 miles, whoever had it had to take responsibility for anything else that was going on. So I think that's why it's generally a good car, but everything we're seeing now is purely because it's 120,000 miles, so
mileage,
you're going to get these issues coming through. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the rod bearings are like, and then actually driving it. And then once we've fixed all the issues, we can get some beautiful V10 noise from the exhaust, and then obviously the plenum.
The plenum's very nice, cool. Oh, the other thing we did notice as well, because you haven't seen under it, I mean, once it's up, we can bring you in and show you anyway. Underneath is quite clean, so it hasn't been near the seaside and it hasn't been driven a lot on the road with the salts. So we think it's been well maintained.
It does look like it. The interior is pretty clean condition. That's normally a big indicator. Because some of the cars we saw, like the one you went to see, had like 70,000 miles as complete dog.
That was bad. Yeah. I mean, like the lacquer in the roof is all okay as well. So it's either been well cleaned properly, never had bird poo and sap and stuff like that, or it's been re-lacquered at some point. But either way, it's been looked after. Cool. So yeah, we'll get through the rod bearings and then we can move forward on that.
Okay. Cool. So that's the first step in our journey with the M6 V10. Now Aston's looked at it. I'm slightly less concerned because there are some issues, but they seem to be fairly small ones. Looking forward to getting the rod bearings done so we can actually drive the car and see what it's like. In terms of future plans, obviously I want to do rear exhaust, probably an Eiserman race with oval tailpipes, purely because that noise is iconic. Even Chewy plenum, even Chewy intake, and then we'll probably tune the car, see how much power we can get out of it. Suspension wise, I've already spoken to Bill Stein and we're going to put a set of B6 EDC Damtronic dampers on there, and we may do some custom valving on those to offer to customers, but I'll get the Bill Stein ones on first and then see how we get on. But I'm genuinely interested in driving the car. I've never driven a competition pack and I'm interested to see what the differences are over a standard car. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please remember to smash that like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. If you want to join the conversation, please drop a comment below and we'll try our best to respond to you. If you want to watch more of this project, you can do so over here. If you want to watch what YouTube thinks you might like from our other content, you can do so over here.